All right, it is straight up 6 o'clock on Monday, the 19th. I will call the meeting to order. Our roll call, we do have a quorum. We have 5 members. There is no correspondence that I'm aware of. Okay. Public comment, we do have Mark from the city.
Thank you. I'd just like to take a brief moment as you begin the evening to share with you a copy for your review of the Finance Committee report on the library renovation project, specifically as it relates to budgetary issues. And then also a memo from the Finance Director on perhaps a few other items that the Library Board may want to consider addressing in a future meeting. So I will pass those around and hope you find them informative.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Do we need to review these? Just
We can just, no, we should discuss them during the agenda item.
okay. All right, moving on to minutes from April of 2025.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Invoices for March and April.
There's currently an issue that Mark is working on. The one that I had for the last meeting, there's a problem with the software. So they're working on Mark has a help request in for the software company. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have all 3, and but the bills are still getting paid.
Just to clarify, the reports that the system's currently generating include the grand total for all invoices which have any library activity. So you'll see credit cards, $24,000, We Energies, $46,000. So that's not particularly beneficial for your review. So we're working on trying to filter that down to just the library charges, and I apologize for not having that resolved prior to the meeting.
Thank you, Mark, for that explanation. I just realized I think we need to go back to and review the minutes and maybe amend them somewhat, because we passed a motion to spend a bunch of money, and that was not a valid motion. So we probably need to amend those minutes to say that we did not vote to spend the carryover library funds, or we voted to, but we realized that was not a valid vote because it wasn't on the agenda as a expense item.
So under B4.
Right.
I'll amend my motion.
Do I have to amend my second?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I'll amend my second as well.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for indulging me on that. All right. Invoices, revenue and expense report for April.
There's no surprises. Anyone have any questions?
I'm good.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Library staff update.
So our children's librarian started, and she's been doing a great job. The programming has been packed, 40 to 50 people. I didn't know this, but she plays the guitar, and the kids really liked it. And so she's very excited about summer reading program. And unfortunately, we are going to be losing our teen services person. Her last day will be on Thursday. And I'm hoping that the jobs have been added to the city website to take applications. That was supposed to be done today. I'll have to double check afterwards. So we'll be recruiting for library assistant storyteller and then a generalist storyteller. Generalist library assistant. We are reevaluating the Teen Cafe. The numbers have dropped dramatically. And there's some reasons that we need to look at too and get some ideas on how we can change that. And so we're going to hopefully have something in place this fall. The staff have been talking about going where the kids are, so somehow maybe do something at the high school. But we still have a lot of talking to do and see how we want to go forward.
I don't mean this to sound like anything, but do you think that maybe it was the Teen Cafe facilitator?
No.
Okay.
It's another reason, and we need to get more, I think, professional advice on how to move forward. I think it is it's something that we can come up with a solution, but it may take some time.
I just know it's been a popular program, so I don't want to see it go away. I want to see it continue to be successful.
Sure, absolutely.
What are some of our peer libraries doing, Tom?
Not much. Teens are very difficult to get in the library. And it's they're doing programs just for teens. No one really has had a after school program like we've had here in Port. It's a real fickle audience. And the challenge is, so many, sometimes they just come in and get the free food and leave. We're not buying them high-end snacks, but they just come in and get their snack and leave. And so we're trying to, what's the best way to get them back in, what type of partnerships we can work on. And for the summer reading program, we have a lot of programming with Gallery 224. And those programs, I have a feeling, are going to be very popular. So they may be an organization we can work with and get more kids in. One of the things about Port is that the kids are really involved in a lot of after-school activities. So it's hard to compete with some of that. But, we're going to see what we can do.
Okay, moving on to the building update.
So, most of the talk is going to be, we're getting ready for the construction to come on June 16th. There's still the plumbing that needs to be addressed in the men's bathroom in the lower level. And Roger's taking care of that. Unfortunately, we have a new leak in the same place in the children's room where they replaced a major pipe. So last Thursday where we had that big rainstorm? It rained pretty heavy the water came back up. So I have to talk to Rob about that, and hopefully it's not a big issue, but it does get wet, and with leaving things wet, it's gonna mold. So we'll have to have them take a look at it and see. It could be the gutters being full. because it is a area where a lot of water comes down. And so hopefully they can figure it out.
So it is a leak, it's not like a drain backup?
Don't know.
Okay.
We do. It's like it's coming up. So, and it's in almost in the exact same spot, right in front of the mural in the children's room.
Okay.
So, I have to talk to Rob and see if he has any answers.
Okay. So usage statistics?
So the numbers are looking good. Anyone have any questions? So just to keep in mind regarding summer reading program, we're no longer using Beanstack, the software. It's all going to be on paper. And I mean, some people like the software because it's an easy way to keep track of all your kids reading, but it's not worth the cost. And I don't think there's any library in Monarch that's using it. We all use it because the state paid for it. And they decided not to move forward on that.
Okay. Sounds like then we're moving on to new business and discussion on policy review, first review.
So it's time to start going through policies. We got a little behind for the last year. So the first one is the fund policy. So I just need you to review, and if you have any questions, we can talk about it at the next meeting. It's pretty straightforward. This was set up when Tony was city administrator, and it's very similar to several libraries in the state of Wisconsin.
So at the next meeting, will we be looking for like an action item for this then, Tom, to review it and approve it?
Yes.
Okay. The thing that first stuck out to me, obviously, is that we're discussing spending some of the fund balance for the, in pursuit of the flexible facilities grant fulfillment. I see that there's a target fund balance of 10% of the operating budget. So I guess my initial question is what is is our total operating budget seen on page 4 of the agenda of the packet at $731,395? Is that our annual operating budget for the library? Sorry, yeah, page 4. Yeah, it's a Mark's revenue expenditure report. I see our 25 amended budget has a total revenue and expenditures of $731,395. That's our total operating budget for the library for the full year.
Yes.
That's correct. So we would be given to assume that we would want to hold $73,000 in our fund balance? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next policy review is collection development. This is a pretty straightforward policy regarding collection development. The next one, probably after that, we need to look at the reconsideration policy. There are libraries that are facing some backlash from community members, and some of it's pretty harsh. And so ours is pretty straightforward. It's good to have it up to date. We do have a process in place. It's very similar to every library in the state of Wisconsin. The critical part is the person that's making the complaint has to be from Port Washington, has to have read the material. They can't just come in and say, we don't want any books, on gay people, trans, straight, football players, whatever. But there are some local communities, Waupun is having some difficulty. There have been people that have been calling around Monarch libraries, asking them what they're doing for Pride Month. And it's not that they support Pride Month. So, I mean, we have a great relationship with the local Pride group. We're having programs this summer. They've been a great partner. But it's important to make sure, we review this on a regular basis.
So underneath, so it's on page 9 of the packet, gifts and donations. The city just passed a donation policy that also takes into account ongoing maintenance. So if there are donations made to the city, part of that donation, the beneficiary, we are the beneficiary, right? The city is the beneficiary. The donor, pardon me. The donor is required to also absorb the cost of ongoing maintenance. So would it behoove us to also include something of that language in there, Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Can you have that, some language added to it in time for next meeting?
Sure.
I think so, just so we can make sure that we're not absorbing large costs and then, we're stuck with the maintenance bill. I think that it was just nice to kind of, think about ongoing maintenance of parks or donations to the city that, we've had to absorb the maintenance cost of, and I just think it's fiscally prudent to have some of that language in there.
Yeah, and I don't see a problem with us sharing the language from the city and what they have in this, just add it.
So does that mean like if somebody donates a bench or something like that, they need to account for maintenance of that down the road?
Yeah, that's probably maybe a poor example.
Okay.
Justin, I would say think about Possibility Playground, things of that sort, where resurfacing that was $200,000, or just some of these larger ongoing projects where you have to worry about maintenance. So not that I'm certainly using that as maybe a bad example, but things of that sort. So benches perhaps not, but larger scale projects that would need ongoing maintenance that would have to be written into the agreement on behalf of the city when there is a donation that's taken into account. So it's just something we recently passed, so nothing that we just didn't know. Now we're in a better spot. So yeah, Tom, whatever you can take from the city's policy would be great.
So please read both the policies and come back to just the next meeting and discuss if you have any questions or concerns.
Tom, is the statement or whatever on the collection development, is that in here in the packet? Because I'm not sure that I see it. I could be missing it, but I see fund policy and it's,
Collection development.
Starts on page 8, Justin.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was a different, I thought they were
yeah.
part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. My bad.
Do you know how many times I looked at this thing?
We'll talk about it next month, then yes for approval. Thank you. Both policies, thanks.
Okay. So item B, consideration and possible action on use of fund balance and donation funds for the Flexible Facilities Grant.
So I guess this is where it would benefit us to look at the two documents that the city finance director handed out to us, that there is an additional $84,000, well, it would be $94,896 on page 2 of the memo that Mr. Manuelson had provided to us. So it looked like that, at our last meeting, we had talked about possibly contributing up to $100,000 from the reserve balance to complete the work of the Flexible Facilities Grant. So having said that, I think that just gives us enough money in contingency that I think we're still probably comfortable with up to $100,000, I guess. I would ask the board. Is that a fair assumption?
Assuming dollar amounts have not changed, I think that's still the plan.
And then the purpose on page 10, Tom, is just to show what our active balance is in the reserve fund.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a balance of $109,793.26. So we'd be looking to allocate up to 100,000 of that.
Correct. Yes.
And then to my earlier question about having up to 10% or around 10% of your operating budget held in this fund balance, would there be a plan or a thought on how we would get ourselves back up to that $73,000?
I would have to talk to Mark and come up with a strategy.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have the information with me, but my recollection is, I think I told you, Tom, that the library has $190,000 of fund balance that does not include the GMF money. So should the library board commit up to $100,000 to support the scope of this project and get the project completed, that would leave about $90,000 in general fund balance with the, in addition to the $100,000+ in the GMF money. So I certainly don't see that as unduly constraining the operational risk of the library budget.
Thank you for that clarification, because, yeah, I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to jeopardize the money that we have in the Greater Milwaukee Foundation Fund.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a completely separate entity. It's,
And barring, hopefully no major issue, but we will have carryover money, this fund balance this year, just because changes with the staffing. And that's where most of it, a lot of the fund balance comes from. And, you know, I'm not one of those people who, when we see money left over, I'm like, spend it. I don't think that's the right thing. And I have talked to Mark about that. And, you know, I just don't think that's good to do. You know, make sure we're going to use it for something that will be very beneficial. So that's what we've been doing.
and in my opinion, this is a worthy use of those funds and good reason to have them and use them. And like you said, not just spend them because we have them.
Right.
Do it for something useful. So we need a
Yeah.
motion now, don't we?
I would move to approve the spending of up to $100,000 of the library's fund balance to fulfill the flexible facilities grant.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So the next item is, I want approval because I've been looking at furniture, and I've been looking at a company called OFR, which sells used office equipment. I just want to make sure that I have the okay from the board to start putting the material on hold for the library. For example, they have some really great computer lab tables that, if we paid full price, would be about $6,000. We can get them for $2,000. And these are really nice. And so some of the issues we have to deal with is storage. I haven't gotten a complete answer of how long they will keep stuff for us in their warehouse. We don't have really any storage place within any city building that I'm aware of. So worst case scenario, we may have to temporarily get a storage unit. And I was told to talk to the Didiers that they may give us a good deal on one. I still haven't talked to them, but they're getting, I was just there a couple weeks ago. They have some really nice stuff that we could probably, chairs, tables for the
Computer.
the study rooms. And so that's where we can save some money. So as long I want to know what's the best, what does the board, because I want the input. I don't want to just, oh yeah, I spent this money.
So then from the memo that Mark handed out, it's got $38,119 listed for furniture, equipment, et cetera. So would you like to, are you asking for permission to spend up to that $38,000, Tom, or?
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, like, I just, yeah, want to be clear. I think we would trust your guidance on this, but I want to make sure that we're setting a scope for, of that, $100,000 that we just allocated, what for furniture, equipment? Sounds like $38,000.
And we will try to make deliveries with our van, pick it up with our van. But it may be cheaper. We've done this as well where we do have a really nice U-Haul facility out in Saukville, and we can rent this big, huge one for like $50 and just pay for the mileage, and it's all set. It's only going to be where they may let us keep it there, but it's hard to say. But because so many, unfortunately, companies are going under, they have like really like nice stuff that will look well in the library.
So then how would you like to see the motion? Is it up to 38,119? Is it 40,000, or what would you prefer?
The 38.
Okay, then I would make a motion to approve up to $38,119 of the library's fund balance to be spent on furniture and equipment as part of the flexible facilities grant.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Tom, I would urge you to be sure and double check your sizes.
Yep.
Make sure they're going to fit in those spaces.
Yep.
Because I know I'm a good one for saying, oh, that's really cheap. I'm going to go get that and bring it home, and then it doesn't fit for some reason.
No, I have done that myself once, and I gave up a couch. But I have talked to Jason, the architect, and I can contact the interior designer. She actually has agreed to maybe meet me out there at OFR.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, with this, we will save money. I mean, it's not, they only get the good stuff. They don't, I mean, this is a Knoll table, if you know of Knoll. I mean, they have 300 tables. I'd love to know where they got them from, but anyways, they're available.
Okay. The grant project construction schedule.
Okay, so we met last Monday with Jason, the head architect, and the two representatives from, the contractors. I have to tell you, I was very impressed by them. They know what they're doing. They have it all scheduled. We know the contact people. I can see why they're well recommended. And so they're going to start on June 16th. So what the library has to do, we have to start moving stuff and, pushing things in corners and that type of stuff. And so we moved the whole shelving. And it's just funny because it's like we, took it all away because people are like totally lost because they're so used to their pattern, which is actually good. That's why you want to move things around so they figure out their habit. So, so the biggest part is they're going to be redoing the quiet room first. That's going to be the first stage. So everything on the first level is going to be done first. Then they hope to have all that done by August. And then they're moving downstairs.
Is that how the phases are? Like phase 1 is upstairs, phase 2 is downstairs?
Yes.
Tom? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's all in the schedule. They may be sending out an even more detailed one. And they're thinking we may get that the end of this week or early next week. So we know who to contact. They're going to be working with Roger. they're excited. We talked about, where people park and all that stuff. And I made it very clear to them, we do not want to be a hindrance to them at all. We want them to be able to get in and get done. And, they're doing this for us too, because they want to get this stuff done so we don't pay tariff prices. And they've already have contracts with the subcontractors, so they don't want to have to change any of that. So their goal is to be done by January.
Nice.
And so we already have all the publicity. We've included, they're all over the library. It's been on Facebook. But even though we have all the signs, people, they'll kind of forget to look, but that's okay.
Are the friends also putting that information out there too, or can they?
Yes, they can, yeah.
Yeah, that would just be nice to reach more people.
And then in the meantime, I am going to be meeting with Carl from the Monarch Library System to talk about computers and figure out what's the best schedule for them, because they will help install the computers. Just a reminder, so looking at TechSoup for new computers. When we take the computers off the floor for the remodeling, or basically people will just check out a laptop or a tablet at the checkout desk, and they'll just use the Wi-Fi. There's still not a good way to do printing. So what we do now is people have to send the document they want to the email at the desk, and then we can print it out for them.
Okay.
Are there any questions, concerns?
By the time we meet in June, we'll already have started, so it'd be nice to hear right away.
So they plan on parking on the little street east. And we said use our facilities, it's just, we want to be accommodating, and they agree. Every worker has to have some form of identification on them. And so the biggest question is, how they're going to move the book stacks. And I said, well, that's your problem. So they'll figure it out. They're actually, what they do now is they wrap it around in cellophane, and then they have these jacks that lift up. They can lift up the whole unit, and then they quickly change the carpet and lower, and we're all set.
Sounds good. All right, 2026 budget update.
Well, I have to get back to the report that Jason wrote about future things that need to be done to the building if we want to do the complete remodel. Also, too, the city had another company look at all the buildings in the community, Kraus Anderson. Unfortunately, there's not a great way to print it out and show you everything. So it's very difficult to read. I know. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. However, it is very consistent with the report from PRA. So the only real challenge that I see in the Kraus is they added a lot of electrical work, which Jason said is going to be done as part of this remodel. And so you have the latest numbers from Jason. So it's about 1.6 million to complete everything. And one addition is redoing, and it's in the Carl Z. Anderson, is redoing the parking lot. And both agreed that it's getting too close to a critical need. And the windows are going to be the biggest, one of the biggest costs, but also could be one of the biggest savings just from the heat. Well, maybe we'll get lucky and continue to have kind of I'm not going to say warm winters, but not as cold winters. So does anyone have any questions regarding Jason's report? And he's willing to go in more depth. But if you look at the costs, they're very similar between the two reports.
Yeah, I think I can probably speak for the members of the Common Council that we're aware of that facilities condition assessment. Like, we know what's kind of coming. So I think we didn't have this information prior to. So it's nice, number one, having PRA kind of confirm what we had found from Kraus Anderson. And then number two, that it's on our radar a bit more about what's coming and what's being required for all of our buildings, but in this case, the library in particular. So.
And he did use this report, Krause.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So, because he probably spent, I think, 10 minutes at the library. And that's okay, because, this is a very in-depth report, so it was very helpful. So really, the next thing for the board is we have to start thinking about what is the next step. Because then, we have to, going to have to let the city know in terms of the capital improvement, what would be the next step.
Yeah, I would hope when it comes to be budgeting time in August, September, October, that we'll have this on our, for visibility in terms of what we want to spend and what projects we want to tackle and facilities or otherwise. So we'll be absolutely talking about it.
So is the city looking for like a laundry list? Like, we need these 30 things and here's the projected dollar amounts, pick and choose what you want to spend this year.
I think that's fair. I mean, I
Yes.
think the other good thing about the Kraus Anderson report is that it kind of bucketed them into urgencies, like red,
Yes.
yellow, green, et cetera. So like that kind of helps inform that decision as well. And so to Tom's point about the roof or the windows, like that helps, or the windows in particular, right? So
Because the roof's done.
roof's done, thank you. Yep, that's
HVAC
right.
will be done.
Yep, boilers are done.
Boiler's done.
Yep.
So it's really gonna be the window, the parking lot. And the siding has to get done soon because it doesn't look good. And that's not as expensive as I thought it would be.
I mean, I do, off the top of my head, I forget what we had planned for capital improvements for 26, but we'll have to see.
Any questions or concerns from anyone?
I think I just want to clarify our next steps as a library board. So the city has all of the recommendations. They have them budgeted or allocated by urgent, less urgent, et cetera. Do we as a board need to come up with that list like you're talking about, or are we operating off of that recommendation list?
We'd be operating off that recommendation list, Stephanie. So I think, let's say I'm looking at the tentative 24 to 28 capital improvement plan for the city and for the library. I guess I'm kind of putting myself on the spot here, but, a lot of park projects. I don't see anything for the library, but this is a living document, so we can have that discussion in the fall. But I think we would probably just go off what the Kraus Anderson and the PRA report would tell us. Yes, Mark, that would be great.
So I think there's a couple of different components. I think our Public Works Division is going to be looking at the facilities from a mechanicals perspective. The shell of the building, the major mechanicals. We're going to be looking at that in conjunction with all of our other facilities and trying to determine what is a practical timeline for all of those given the identification of so many issues that need to be addressed in a 5 or 10 year timeline. We have seen a lot of things identified as critical that are pretty quick hits. So I know we're going to try to work with our Public Works Division to tend to those citywide. But then there's the other component, and that's the interior, more use type improvements. Those are more of the items that the library board might want to recommend a timeline on based on that study. I haven't looked at that very closely, but if there are some areas that you would like to move forward on for library operational use, then If you can identify those, we can get your recommendations on, highest priority items and try to build that into that integrated schedule that we'll be looking at in the next we're going to be looking at it in about 6 weeks for the 10-year financial plan. And, but then again, that's updated every year, so.
Any other questions or concerns?
None for me.
That's all I have.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Oh, budget update?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought we,
The 26 budget. Thank you. So the city's starting to work on the budget. I've talked to staff, and we're not looking at any major agendas for next year, just because we got to get used to the new building and the people get used to the new building. We have been talking, just FYI, talking again about maybe getting a part-time help with cleaning to help Steve, because he's doing a lot. He gets the basics done for the library, but there's no extra time for him to come back and do things that he used to be able to do. But that's really the only thing we're looking at.
So no major updates for the operating side of things, right, Tom, for next year?
No.
Things would proceed apace. That then in capital, probably not much going on for next year because of this year's project with the
Yes.
flexible facilities grant. But there will be a 10-year review, so I'm sure there'll be projects in the future, but not necessarily for 26.
Yes. And so I should let you know that we got the okay that the money will not be taken for the grant.
oh,
It's not going to happen. The state has the money. Just got to make sure we get the bills in. That's
Okay.
and they'll get paid.
wonderful. That's really good news.
However,
But wait.
our services could still change due to the elimination of the library and museum office in DC, because they do use that money to provide services for us. It is very unclear as how the state's going to move forward with that, and I don't think we're going to know probably at least until August.
Well, we'll have to deal with that when we know. Yeah. All right, thank you, everyone.
Before you adjourn, just a clarification for the minutes. So going back to the approval of the minutes from April 2025, am I amending, I'm taking out the motion that was passed, even though it was passed? We're saying, whoops, take that out.
Strike
And then it's repassed this month because it was on the agenda with the correct wording with the approval of it. Okay, thank you.
I just don't want that to be in the minutes, and then 5 years from now, somebody looks back and, well, it was approved in April and it was approved in May. What's going on?
Sure,
I just want to be sure that's all
sounds good, thank you.
clear.
Perfect. Thanks, Rosalie.
Yeah. Anything
We
else?
need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
I do want your opinion. What do you think of this? So this would be for all the